The man had been reborn as a black, iron-scaled dragon. The opponent standing before him was a stag-shaped reaper, and yet, that so-called harbinger of death turned out to be a girl who could only whimper. Just moments ago, Ananta had slipped through layers of raging flames without a scratch. A suffocating pressure rolled off him, thick enough to choke the air itself. What stood before him now was a deer-like creature that looked every bit like death incarnate. Ananta spoke slowly. Ananta's got a flaw. He's bad at just about everything, except killing you. The Reaper felt the murderous intent pouring off him and answered with a shrill, rage-filled roar. In the next heartbeat, thunderous cries erupted behind it. A tide of feral beast zombies came into view. Fearless warriors who felt no pain. Unfortunately for them, that didn't mean a damn thing. Ananta shifted his weight onto one foot. With a single strike, the beast didn't even realize what happened before they were blasted skyward. The entire horde lasted 2.5 seconds under his unstoppable assault. Seeing this, the Reaper's fury climbed higher, twin streams of deathly aura flaring from its eye sockets. With a guttural, ancient incantation, the Reaper's body twisted with a grotesque cracking sound. Its size and strength surged, multiplying in an instant. Their roars collided like thunder. Savage slashes exploded into streaks of blood-red light, tangling violently mid-air. One devastating critical punch, and the Reaper was blasted dozens of meters away. Ananta casually tossed aside the Reaper's severed arms he had ripped off moments earlier. The scales covering his body began to recede. What remained of the Reaper was nothing but a mangled ruin. Ananta stepped forward slowly, and then he froze. Inside that shattered shell was a white-haired girl, soft and springy, skin pale as fresh snow. Don't ask why he was holding her like that. If he didn't, he probably wouldn't be able to hold her at all. That was when Ananta noticed something off about her. Her eyes were unfocused, her expression blank. Clearly someone had tampered with her mind. Suddenly, a strange silhouette sliced across the sky. Hovering in midair was Kunbro. Ananta shot him a vicious glare. What a wonderful day. This never ends, does it? Kunbro stared at Ananta in silence for 2.5 seconds. His form gradually dissolved, reshaping into that of an old man. At last, he spoke. Remarkable. I never expected you to defeat my beloved puppet. From the moment you stepped onto this continent, I have been watching your every move. Just what exactly are you? Before the old man could finish speaking, Ananta flung the white-haired girl aside. Yap, yap, yap. You never shut up, like a damn bird. Oh, right. You are a bird. If you're going to fight, then fight. I couldn't care less about your preferences or your tragic backstory. Come at me. I'd be more than happy to end your life myself. Hearing that, Kunbro summoned back the avian head and wings. Once I dispose of you, I'll gain a puppet far superior to that deer. Rise. At his command, the humans and beasts who had fallen moments earlier were infused with new souls. Ananta glanced around and chuckled. Now that's more like it, old man. The last batch was boring as hell. With a sharp order from Kunbro, countless undead surged toward Ananta. In mere moments, the undead army completely surrounded him, leaving not a single gap. Kunbro burst into laughter. Brat, let's see you act tough now. You've squeezed out every last drop of your strength, haven't you? He gathered his power and struck with full force, his claws piercing straight through Ananta's body. Ananta laughed out loud. Old man, I thought you'd surprise me a little. That's it? Open those bird eyes of yours and look carefully. Who's really the prey here? A flash of crimson light erupted. In a single instant, the undead army crumbled into dust. What stood before him made even the 2.5 years without wetting the bed Kunbro lose control of his bladder. What the hell is that? It wasn't just the crushing pressure Ananta released that terrified him. It was the massive black dragon head condensed from Ananta's aura. Time to say goodnight, old man. The dragon head opened its cavernous, blood-stained maw. In the next second, it crashed down violently, and Kunbro took the full impact. A scream of agony tore through the air, but that was only the beginning. What awaited him wasn't stomach acid. It was a hellscape forged from hundreds of demonic beasts. In moments, he was being torn apart and devoured. The beasts mocked him between bites. Welcome our newest member. With Kunbro's death, the white-haired girl's eyes slowly regained clarity. Yet the scene before her left her frozen. Demonic energy blotted out the sky like a tidal wave. Her legs trembled so badly, she could only whimper. Ananta noticed she had awakened. A single glance over his shoulder, and she stiffened completely, not even daring to swallow, afraid the slightest movement would trigger his killing intent. Before long, Ananta stood before her. As if recalling something, he asked, "Have you broken free from the demon god's control?" The moment she heard those words, a sharp pain pierced her mind. A radiant figure flickered within her memories. White wings. Blindingly brilliant. The moment Ananta heard the word wings, his expression sharpened. If I'm not mistaken, you and I are both victims of those wings. The white-haired girl stared at him, confusion written all over her face. Victims of wings? What are you talking about? Who are you? What Ananta said next shattered her worldview. What I'm about to say may sound cruel to you, but you deserve the truth. I'm a descendant of the Dragon Clan, one of the survivors of the Great Extermination, and the god you worship is the one who orchestrated that slaughter. The girl lowered her head. I don't understand what you're saying. A sudden wave of dizziness struck her. Her legs gave out, and she collapsed. The small creature on her shoulder let out a series of sharp cackles, as if demanding an explanation. Ananta answered calmly. She's fine. Her breathing's stable. I probably forced too much information into her at once. By then, she had fallen into her own dreamscape. The scene felt both familiar and alien. She turned and saw the skeletal remains of a stag behind her, panic flooding her face. After all these years, what did I do wrong? Why won't you let me go? The white-haired girl stumbled and fell into the pool of blood on the ground. When she lifted her head, her face was smeared crimson. Pain twisted her expression. Why does everyone see me as some bloodthirsty monster? I'm not that kind of person. A single tear slipped down, and in the reflection beneath her, she saw the version of herself she feared most. Despair, fear, and loneliness tangled together. Yet everything unfolding before her forced her to accept she was the root of it all. Just as she was drowning in self-doubt, a radiant light flared behind her. It came at the perfect moment. Warm, almost gentle. The next instant, she jolted awake. That strange dream again. The pink rabbit beside her grinned. You sure can sleep. I thought you weren't waking up this time. The look on your face while you were out? Definitely a nightmare. Ananta's voice drew her attention. Ruby, come here. I'll leave the rest to you. Ruby nodded. A spark ignited within her mouth, gathering strength. In a heartbeat, the flame she exhaled devoured the mountain of remains. The souls that never truly belonged to those beasts were finally set free. The pink rabbit stretched lazily. That method really fits those lunatics, doesn't it? Finally over. Time to relax. Ananta's gaze darkened as he stared at her. Hey, forget something? The pink rabbit waved her paws quickly. No. I can tell you really gave it your all this time. The next second, the pink rabbit took a solid smack to the head. Hey, what was that? Ouch! Ananta snapped. Shut up, you walking trash vendor. He jabbed a finger toward the white-haired girl. This is the intel you sold me, and you're still grinning? The job's done. Pay up. I want my gold. The rabbit forced a smile. Easy there. That actually hurt. She got back on her feet and turned to the girl. Mind telling me your name? The girl hesitated. You can call me Nadia. The rabbit blinked in surprise. Didn't expect to run into another victim like Ananta. Ananta cut in coldly. Dead rabbit. Unless you want to end up as Ruby's dinner. The rabbit quickly pulled out a pocket watch. All right. No need to rush me. We're leaving. As the watch began to glow, the ground trembled violently. In the next instant, all three of them plunged down through a newly opened hole. Nadia screamed as gravity ripped the ground from beneath her. Sweat beaded down her forehead. These two were unbelievable. Couldn't even give her a warning. She opened her eyes and froze. Is this the rumored otherworld? The rabbit elegantly placed a tiny top hat on her head. My apologies, Nadia. I should have introduced myself sooner. Nadia stared. Shouldn't you apologize for dropping me through a hole first? The rabbit continued smoothly. I am one of the largest information brokers on this continent, a member of the Rabbit Paw family. You may call me Whitefoot, and Ananta and I share a rather extraordinary relationship. This was the largest slave market in Capes. They were fugitives and drifters captured by slave hunters. As long as the price was attractive enough, there was no slave they couldn't provide in this market. That naturally included ferocious magical beasts as well. Whitefoot stopped. Nadia frowned in confusion. So, why did you bring me here? You'll find out soon enough. At that moment, Ananta suddenly drove a kick into Nadia. The impact sent her tumbling 2.5 rolls across the ground. Nadia howled in pain. Has he lost his damn mind? She was about to curse him out when she suddenly sensed something was wrong. In the dim, cramped basement, countless people were bound and restrained. Ananta explained coldly. They are living sacrifices offered to the incarnation of wings. The reason the sacred tree you saw outside has grown so enormous is precisely because it feeds on these sacrifices. You are no different from them. If you want to hunt the incarnation of wings, then you must serve as the bait. Nadia never imagined that the man who had just saved her would sell her out the very next moment. Ananta ordered Whitefoot behind him. She's yours to handle. I'm heading to the arena first. Seeing Ananta about to leave, Nadia shouted with all her strength. Wait, can you answer one question? All the people locked up in here. Was this all you're doing? Ananta turned his head. And if it was? Doesn't that mean you'll finally get what you want? An audience with the incarnation of wings? Nadia roared in fury. Are you even human? You'll stop at nothing to achieve your goal. Those weaker humans are innocent. Don't you feel even a shred of guilt?" At her words, Ananta simply stared at her in silence for 2.5 seconds. Then he turned away. "They're not worth dirtying my hands over." Nadia's voice trembled. "So being powerful means you can do whatever you want?" Whitefoot's next words nearly shattered her composure. "Don't forget those poor souls locked up here. What kind of horrifying fate do you think awaits them once they meet the evil incarnation of Wings? Just imagining what happens to them afterward almost makes me cry." Nadia spat back. "You damn rabbit. You're disgusting." Whitefoot grinned playfully. "I just love watching you hate me while knowing you can't kill me. And let's not forget, you're still under the control of the demon god. Compared to the people you've killed, these lives are barely a drop in the bucket. A few dozen deaths probably mean nothing to you. Even if it wasn't your intention, you're hardly free of responsibility. Ananta and I both understand how you feel. After all, we share the same enemy." The White Lotus Temple, where the incarnation of Wings resided, stood at the very top of this tree. Only those who offered tribute to the temple were qualified to receive a promotion pass for the arena. The victor's reward was not only access to the White Lotus Divine Tree's attributes, but also the chance to become a guardian of the incarnation and obtain even greater power from it. Nadia asked, "What exactly did Ananta go through? Why is he so determined to kill the incarnation of Wings? Is it connected to his power?" Whitefoot replied, "The details are difficult for me to explain clearly, but one thing I can tell you. He is not only a descendant of the Black Dragon, he is also an incarnation of vengeance who has endured the pain of his entire clan being wiped out. The Ananta you see now may have already surpassed that lord." Meanwhile, on the other side of the arena, Ananta was making preparations for the battle ahead. He then asked, "How is the task I assigned to you?" Whitefoot answered with visible pride, "Everything is proceeding exactly according to your plan." Whitefoot thought to himself, "In the end, Ananta is still soft-hearted. He chose the hardest possible path. If he had decided from the very beginning to slaughter civilians indiscriminately, drawing the enemy's attention would have been easy. But if he had truly done that, he would have crossed the line between humans and magical beasts. And from that moment on, he would never again be able to claim the identity of a human." At that moment, Ananta's voice cut through her thoughts. "You staring at me like I'm some pitiful creature? Itching for a beating?" Whitefoot hurriedly replied, No. How would I dare?" Ananta lifted his axe. "That old bird still hasn't fully digested. Perfect for a little post-meal workout. Stay on the sidelines and watch. Ruby's in your hands. When I get back, if I find he's missing even a single strand of hair, I won't mind adding something extra to dinner. A whole roasted rabbit." Whitefoot rubbed his face and muttered, "I mean, sure, boss. But does Ruby even have hair?" Ananta's eyes hardened. "Cut the chatter. Time to teach these rookies how the world really works." Inside the arena, the fourth squad was already bracing for combat. The previous squads hadn't even lasted 2.5 seconds. One member muttered under his breath, "Honestly, I kinda want to go home right now." Same here. A high-tier magical beast like this isn't something a small squad can handle. The commander ordered sternly, "Hold formation. Don't give it any opening. Its front claws hit like a truck." Just then, Ananta placed a hand on one of their shoulders. "Hey, you're in my way." He shoved the person aside. "Something that just needs hands shouldn't be this complicated." The spirit beast roared. "Insolent brat. A mere human dares show disrespect before this king? Today, you will pay for your ignorance. In your next life, learn to stay humble." Black Tiger rips the heart. The next second, Ananta brought his axe down and taught the beast a brutal lesson. "Oh my. You really don't know when to hold back, do you?" The members nearby were stunned speechless. This man possessed speed and strength beyond anything ordinary. Was this what people called love at first sight? Murderous intent blazed in Ananta's eyes. "Time to end this, little wildcat." In a single leap, he soared above the spirit beast. Twin axes raised high. The blades came crashing down toward its skull. As Ananta roared, the arena erupted in thunderous cheers. Soon after, his gaze shifted toward the White Lotus Divine Tree. "Wash your neck and wait for me. It won't be long before I climb up there. Pluck every feather you have and slice you up raw." Ananta hadn't entered the arena just to secure a branch and meet the avatar. The White Lotus Divine Tree was protected by an impregnable barrier. Direct assault was impossible. If he wanted to carry out his so-called sashimi plan, he needed the perfect bait to stir chaos within the enemy's ranks. And Nadia was the ideal piece on the board. As the gates of the White Lotus Divine Temple slowly opened, the crowd was led into a place of living sacrifice. The moment Nadia stepped inside, she froze. The temple built upon the divine tree was far grander than she had imagined. A crushing pressure descended, snapping her into full alert. A voice echoed through the hall. "So, these are the mortals? There is no need to tremble. I sincerely welcome you to my temple. Lost souls drowning in the abyss of fear. Raise your heads. The people inside looked up in awe. My God, is that truly a deity? The figure upon the platform continued. I am the soon-to-be anointed Holy Son, adored by the masses, the master of the White Lotus divine tree, the incarnation who rings the wings of nectar across the darkness. My full name is Balzac Ilkini. To be chosen as offerings is a blessing for mortals like you. Your bodies shall attain eternity alongside this sacred tree. A desperate scream suddenly cut through the temple. Lord Balzac, please, spare my little sister. She's still just a child. Balzac stepped forward with a gentle smile. Kind-hearted soul, offer your reverence to the divine, with a heart that yearns for the sublime. The woman, believing her sister had been granted mercy, trembled as she whispered her thanks. The next instant, her head exploded into a spray of crimson flesh. She collapsed right in front of her sister. The last spark of hope in the hall was snuffed out. Rage ignited in Nadia's chest as reality finally crystallized. I will end you. Balzac returned to his throne, voice smooth and amused. Such touching, sisterly devotion. Before death, all are equal. Your sister had already been freed from fear. She could have passed peacefully. You should be grateful. Soon enough, you'll be reunited in rebirth. The incarnation guardian stiffened. Hold on. Something's wrong with that woman. A deathly aura began leaking from Nadia's body. The guardian stared in horror at the massive presence taking shape behind her. That black energy? I can't move. Cold blue light burned in Nadia's eyes. You're no savior. You're nothing but a butcher drunk on blood. Drop the holy act. Balzac chuckled. How intriguing. One of the offerings happens to be an incarnation. The spilling death aura gathered, condensing into form. A wave of screams shattered the moment. Monster! It's a monster! Help! The terror in the crowd's eyes stirred her inner demon once more. Am I going back again? Then a young boy's voice snapped her back to clarity. Don't resist it. Find your true self. Nadia smiled faintly. I don't know who you are, but thank you. A mysterious power awakened within her, and an overwhelming surge of forest energy erupted from the ground. In a blink, massive trunks burst upward, encircling everyone in protective walls of living wood. Nadia gripped the vine tightly. Don't be afraid. I'll get all of you out of here. The next second, horror flashed across her face. A sudden blow smashed directly into her. Balzac sneered. A mere little deer dares to act arrogant before me. Even if you wield two different powers, your incarnation is nothing but an unknown from some forgotten backwater. Have you been rotting in this wasteland so long that you think you can challenge an incarnation of true renown? Nadia's voice rang out defiantly. I carry a name that resounds. Nadia, the forest incarnation, born of nature itself. Balzac let out a mocking laugh. Ignorant little deer. You've clearly never witnessed the power of a god. Branches twisted and expanded violently, forging a colossal warhammer. It launched forward like a meteor, streaking straight toward Balzac. Balzac scoffed. That's it? The power of a god exists to make you kneel, not to defy me. With a single strike, the warhammer that carried every ounce of Nadia's strength shattered like glass. The thunderous blast drew every eye in the temple. Even Ananta hadn't expected the clash to escalate this quickly. In that instant, Nadia understood. This opponent existed on an entirely different tier of incarnation. High above, a massive golden birdcage hung suspended in the sky. A sharp snap echoed through the air. The cage crashed down with devastating force. Nadia squinted into the swirling smoke. A colossal silhouette materialized before her. She stared for a solid 2.5 seconds. Oh great. So you all transform now, huh? The boy's voice rang out again. That bird is dangerous. Run! Nadia's pupils constricted violently as she looked down at herself. When did these two bone spikes get here? I didn't even see him move. Balzac spoke calmly, almost amused. Your courage is admirable, but unfortunately, with that tiny frame of yours, you wouldn't even fill the gap between my undead bonebird's teeth. Meanwhile, Ananta finished off the final beast in the arena. The deadly spectacle came to an end. The guardian stepped forward, presenting the victor's reward. Duke Bernhard, standing off to the side, appeared to be plotting something of his own. Inside the chest lay the crucial key to reaching the top of the White Lotus tree, the White Lotus wood branch. Meanwhile, Nadia, impaled by bone spikes within the temple, was already gravely wounded. Behind her stood the civilian she had sworn to protect. Worse still, the unfathomably powerful undead bonebird had fully manifested before her, pushing the already dire situation toward collapse. Balzac sneered. Take a good look at the people behind you. Their fear exists because of you, the monster in their midst. Nadia murmured under her breath. A monster? That's not a bad idea. Given the circumstances, she had only one option left: to assume her stag-shaped reaper and beat the life out of this bloodthirsty demon. Balzac's interest visibly sharpened. I'll admit, Your resolve impresses me. But if I unleash this move, how exactly will you respond? A chill ran down Nadia's spine as she turned abruptly. The ground shook violently. In a single instant, everyone within the protective barrier was pierced through. At the same time, countless branches erupted from beneath the bone bird's talons. They thrust forward relentlessly, skewering flesh after flesh. Balzac raised both arms in exultation. Behold, the grand art bestowed upon me by the wings of redemption, to witness the authority of a god with your own eyes. Consider it your greatest honor. The moment his words faded, the white lotus wood branch ignited in a crimson glow. The red light flowed steadily into the undead bone bird. Its true essence, countless souls bound to the twisted branches. The surge of power sent visible pleasure across Balzac's face. With a casual flick of his hand, the massive trunks Nadia had created withered and collapsed. The guardians felt the surge as well. Their bodies twisted unnaturally, and thus, immortal puppet husks were born. At the same time, the undead bone bird's roar nearly swallowed Nadia whole. Under the crushing pressure, she couldn't even move. Damn it, I can't draw out any power. Balzac lifted a hand lazily. Branches shot up violently, binding Nadia in an instant. His fingers moved as he manipulated the vines restraining her. Don't forget whose territory this is. Your incarnation is nothing more than a snack before me. Arrogant little dear. I'll give you a chance to live. What's 1,000 minus 7? Nadia forced her head up, fury blazing in her eyes. Kill me if you're going to. I'd rather die than look at your disgusting face another second. Balzac raised his hand to finish her. When the temple doors burst open in a flash of scarlet light, a dark silhouette shot forward like a missile. Ananta drove the white lotus wood branch straight into Balzac's face. He flipped backward and landed cleanly. Ananta finally noticed Nadia. He let out a low chuckle. You two really went wild while I was gone, huh? Balzac's gaze shifted to the white lotus wood branch, still lodged in him. His eyes turned frigid. You exploited the arena's rules to sneak in and assassinate me? You must be the Colosseum champion. Alone, and you made it this far. He glanced outside. The temple grounds were already in ruins, but when Ananta got a clear look at Balzac, confusion flickered across his face. He turned to Nadia. Hey, didn't I tell you to find the winged incarnation? What are you doing here with this thing? Nadia blanked out for a solid 2.5 seconds. Balzac's fury erupted. You insolent brat! Watch your mouth! Trespassing into the goddess's domain without permission, and you dare insult the great winged incarnation goddess? I'll tear your lips apart and rip that blasphemous tongue from your mouth. A strange crimson aura began radiating from Ananta. So that's how it is. You dumb chicken aren't the winged incarnation after all. Meanwhile, outside the temple, Duke Bernhard cleaved down a guardian in a single stroke. The battle had reached a fever pitch. Charge! Leave no survivors! Then something unusual from within the temple caught his attention. The moment he stepped inside, he froze. The ascending staircase was piled with the corpses and severed limbs of incarnation guardians. Back inside the sanctuary, the clash between the three was seconds from erupting. Nadia frowned. He's not the incarnation of the wings, so he's been a fake this whole time? Ananta rolled his eyes. Isn't that obvious? You know why they call it the winged incarnation? Because that bastard bears 3 pairs of white wings. And this pathetic excuse doesn't even have a proper set. What's the difference between him and a farmyard chicken? Since you managed to amuse me, I suppose I should reward you properly. Balzac's expression shifted in shock. He hadn't expected this man to know so much about the winged incarnation. At his command, the mutated guardians charged Ananta all at once. Ananta's arm morphed into a draconic claw. With a single swing, he cleaved the divine tree clean in half. Nadia seized the moment to break free from Balzac's control. She started to thank him, but Ananta cut her off impatiently. Save it. I've got the rest. Go wherever you want. Nadia suddenly noticed movement within the withered trunk. Without hesitation, she ran toward the 2 children. Ananta sensed the danger instantly and shouted, Run! The moment a guardian lunged in close, its head was swatted clean off by Ananta's palm. Meanwhile, the undead bone bird's power swelled inside its throat. Countless bone spikes gathered within its gullet. The next second, they erupted in a torrential barrage, engulfing Ananta in an instant. Nadia shielded the 2 children with her own body. The smoke slowly cleared. What stood revealed was Ananta in his black dragon form. Before the bone bird could react, the black silhouette was already upon it. Ananta launched forward like a cannon shell. His claws tore straight for the creature's neck. The massive body, now headless, crashed heavily to the ground. At that moment, Balzac's counterattack struck without warning. By the time Ananta reacted, it was too late. He was slammed to the ground and pinned beneath him. Balzac spoke coldly. I admit, you are formidable. Strong enough to witness the full power bestowed upon me by the goddess. An eerie halo flared behind him, and his talon-like claw pointed down at Ananta. Nadia's heart dropped. This is bad. Ananta suddenly seized Balzac's claw and roared straight into his avian face. Balzac recoiled in disgust, using his foot to shove Ananta's head aside. Dare to bring that foul mouth near me again, and you insult the divine? With a deft shift of leverage, he stomped hard on Ananta's head and pushed back. His claws lashed out in a razor-sharp strike. The attack tore through Ananta's arm, the shockwave splitting the earth apart. Ananta roared in fury. Black energy surged from the wound, and a thicker, more monstrous dragon claw regenerated in its place. Balzac froze for a full 2.5 seconds. Regeneration? What kind of power was this? Ananta condensed his severed arm rage into his palm. With a violent swing, blood aura streaked forward in a devastating arc. Balzac summoned the divine tree as a shield, but it wasn't enough. He was cleaved clean through the waist. Agony ripped from his throat in a shriek resembling a hen laying an egg. His transformed body began to dissolve. Watching it all, Nadia felt cold sweat bead down her spine. Thankfully, Ananta had shown her mercy before. Ananta stepped forward to finish the job. When behind him, the headless undead bone bird lurched back to its feet. Its charge hit like a falling meteor. Ananta dove sideways, barely evading the impact. Ananta pushed himself up and snapped his head around. Through the haze, a far more terrifying silhouette emerged. The lower half of the bone bird fused grotesquely with Balzac's upper body. Ananta reacted instantly and launched himself back into the fray. The next clash would be even more brutal. At the same time, a jagged crack tore across the sky. A mysterious figure descended from it, like a god stepping into the mortal realm. The pressure radiating from him was suffocating, and his destination was the temple perched atop the White Lotus divine tree. Below, Ananta was locked in a life-or-death struggle against the fused Balzac. In the blink of an eye, Ananta surged forward and drove his palm straight through Balzac's abdomen. Balzac snarled in pain. But he would not waste this once-in-a-lifetime opening. His talon pointed upward. Branches from the divine tree lashed out, binding Ananta's footing in place. Balzac smirked darkly. Thought you were fast? Go on. Run. The next instant, the undead bone bird's chest cavity split wide open. Bone spikes erupted like a torrential storm. The explosion echoed through the entire temple in a heartbeat. Nadia shouted Ananta's name in panic. Then, the mysterious black figure slipped behind Balzac. By the time he sensed it, it was already too late. A barrage of draconic punches crashed into him like a cyclone. He swung his bone claws in desperation, but the strikes were effortlessly evaded. The damage wasn't catastrophic, but the humiliation was devastating. Balzac cursed violently on the spot. As Ananta landed, Balzac's eyes widened in shock. Those legs, what are those? Can he shift into other creatures at will? From the sidelines, Nadia finally understood what had happened. Just before the bone spike struck, Ananta had severed both his own feet with his dragon claws to evade the fatal blow. He had even regenerated them mid-air. Ananta's absurd resilience forced Balzac into calculation. If I want him dead, I have to restrain him first, then kill him instantly. No time for recovery. Balzac activated another ability. The ground trembled violently. Nadia shielded the two remaining children, her thoughts racing. What is he planning now? The stone tiles beneath Ananta suddenly bulged upward. Countless branches from the White Lotus divine tree lunged toward him. Thicker, faster, deadlier than before. As he dodged, Ananta glanced toward Balzac. The White Lotus divine tree was feeding him endless energy, even restoring the damage dealt moments ago. A prolonged stalemate would only work against Ananta. The tremors caused the divine tree to sway, and that subtle detail didn't escape Ananta's notice. He channeled power into both legs and launched himself upward in a violent burst. The move stunned both opponents for a full 2.5 seconds. He had willingly abandoned the advantageous ground. Ananta drove his fist into the ceiling. Balzac blinked in disbelief. Is this idiot trying to demolish my temple? As chunks of stone rained down, Ananta fell with the collapsing debris. Without footing, he was instantly ensnared by the branches, like a lamb caught in a trap. Balzac laughed as he slowly advanced on Ananta. Your arms and legs can't even move now. You still think you can kill me? Instead of panicking, Ananta calmly asked, Up until now, how many people have you killed? Balzac burst out laughing. Does a chicken count the grains it's eaten? Ananta gave a faint nod. So you still don't understand the weight of a single life? The moment he finished speaking, a pair of black wings tore open from his back. A tidal wave of deathly aura exploded upward, piercing the heavens. As Souls of the Fallen activated, Ananta's third-stage dragon form shifted. His flesh decayed into the skeletal majesty of a bone dragon. That transformation traced back to the power left behind by "Try it and you'll die, Kun." A strange rumble began above the shattered ceiling. Balzac slowly lifted his head and froze. The people he had hung upon the White Lotus divine tree were rising. All of them. And once they detached from the tree, Balzac could no longer siphon their souls. An endless legion of the dead surged toward him, tearing and biting without mercy. Nadia stood speechless. What was happening? Within moments, Balzac was swallowed by the very sins he had committed. He clawed his way out of the pile of corpses with the last of his strength. Exhausted and half mad, Balzac lunged toward Nadia. Even if I die today, I'm taking one of you with me. What Balzac didn't expect was the sharp crack that split the sky. A streak of golden light tore downward straight at him. The explosion flared so brightly, it forced everyone to shield their eyes. When the smoke cleared, Balzac's head was pinned beneath someone's foot, like a basketball crushed into the floor. The mysterious man radiated a calm yet overwhelming presence. One glance from him was enough to send cold sweat sliding down Nadia's forehead. Then, to her horror, the man dropped to one knee. I have come to receive you, master, he said evenly. I trust your journey was pleasant? Behind Nadia, the small boy slowly rose to his feet. A terrible premonition gripped her heart. The boy's hair lengthened, cascading down his back. His body expanded rapidly, bones reshaping, presence surging. What stood before them was the legendary final boss, the true incarnation of Wings, divinely manifested in the mortal realm. As their so-called master, what kind of power did he truly possess? When he fully stood, he locked eyes with Nadia for 2.5 seconds. A strange pain stabbed through her body, as if her own power resonated unwillingly with his. She stared at his back in confusion. Who was this man? Half dead, Balzac forced himself to look up. The moment recognition struck, his eyes nearly bulged from their sockets. The incarnation of Wings? Why are you here? Guao spoke calmly. Seems your memory hasn't failed you. At least you still remember who I am. Balzac snarled through clenched teeth. How could I forget? You heartless former master. Everything I've become is because of you. As Balzac finished speaking, Guao merely lifted a finger. A guardian tore Balzac's body apart and dragged him before his former master. Guao spoke calmly. When we first created life, only those with value were allowed to stand beneath the sky. Tell me, do you qualify? Balzac roared. I was your loyal servant. I admired you, feared you, because I wanted to become like you. I only wanted to reach the sky once, and you ripped my wings away. You slaughtered tens of thousands. I became this monster just to grow them back. Guao didn't let him finish. His palm pressed lightly against Balzac's chest. His answer was only 5 words. You have no value. Radiant light flooded Balzac's body. When he crumbled into dust, a single branch dropped from within his remains. Guao regarded it without emotion. A crude fusion with the power of the sacred tree. Compared to the world tree beyond this realm, it's pitiful. Balzac was no longer worth his attention. What truly interested Guao was the woman named Nadia. Not far away, within the mountain of corpses, a beast slowly opened its eyes. That voice was one Ananta would never forget. Long ago, Guao had dreamed of finding the horizon that led to the divine realm. To achieve it, he had been willing to make enemies of the entire world. The tribe Ananta had depended on since childhood, and the gentle, radiant mother, who had cherished him, were reduced to ashes the day Guao walked away. In the blink of an eye, Guao stood before the woman bound to him by fate. Ananta's fury shattered through the restraints of pain. 20 years. He had hunted this man for 20 years. Grief and hatred fused into boiling blood for revenge. His arms swung outward. A razor-sharp blade of blood tore through the air, aimed straight at Guao. The guardian caught it effortlessly. Guao's lips curved into a knowing smile. Ananta roared, the sound shaking the temple. Who the hell are you to stand in my way? He lunged forward at blinding speed. The guardian answered with a single punch, blasting Ananta's head clean off. 2.5 seconds later, the headless body regenerated completely. The guardian tilted his head, intrigued. May I have your name? Ananta's reply was ice cold. Call me Dad. The guardian's expression darkened. Arrogant brat. This punch carries 20 years of cultivation. Let's see if you can endure it. Meanwhile, Guao and Nadia locked eyes. Just as Guao moved to erase her, a battle axe came whistling toward him. It cleaved nothing but empty air. How fast was this man? Guao appeared behind Duke Bernhard without a sound. It's been a while, Duke. After all this time, you still don't know when to quit. Bernhard glanced toward Ananta. Even that pitch-black lunatic hasn't given up. Why should a minor character like me? The Guardian sensed something shifting within Ananta. He kicked off hard, creating distance. Ananta's form began to warp, his body swelling with rage as massive wings tore from his back. The next second, he roared at the sky. The thunderous cry stunned everyone present. Guao studied the black dragon before him. He chuckled. What a reunion, so many old friends coming to greet me. Ananta had nearly lost himself. his size and power multiplying rapidly. Even the Guardian couldn't help but wonder if the man had just logged into a stronger version of himself. Golden radiance erupted from the Guardian's body. Draconic breath condensed within Ananta's jaws. Their attacks launched simultaneously. The collision between them triggered a violent shockwave that ripped through the battlefield. The aftershock rolled outward, but Guao casually blocked it with a flick of his wings. He muttered, "He's pushing himself to the brink, even burning his own life. And his will still hasn't wavered." In that brief moment of distraction, Duke Bernhard charged forward, driven by vengeance for his fallen comrades. Just as Duke Bernhard swung his axe, Guao vanished, reappearing behind him at a speed no eye could follow. The silver-scaled breastplate and battle axe clattered to the ground. "Go join your brothers," Guao said calmly. Yet Bernhard rose again, like a war god refusing to fall. "You can destroy my body, but you will never defeat me." After finishing Bernhard, Guao stepped before Nadia once more. "You're afraid, just like you were back then." As Nadia weakly lifted her head, the memories she had lost flooded back in full. When she had been alone and helpless, the one who had helped her was this very man. Guao pressed a hand to his chest. "The branch within me is trembling. That proves you too were chosen by that great tree." As he walked past her, Nadia demanded to know about the branch. He answered evenly. "The branch is the source of power the gods bestowed upon mortal life. It allows one to assume a human form and grants talents beyond the limits of ordinary beings." With that, he inserted the branch into the undead bone bird's body. Lightning exploded outward, bolts tearing through the sky. Everyone braced for a towering giant. Yet when the light faded, only a child barely 2.5 feet tall stood there. He was the bone bird long imprisoned, Guao's own brother, born of the same origin. His name was Giz. Elsewhere, the Guardian and Ananta were still locked in battle. Ananta's colossal dragon palm swept forward again. After a brief clash, the Guardian's advantage vanished. Before Ananta's third stage form, he looked like a toy. As the Guardian searched for a counter, Ananta suddenly spread his wings. With a single beat, he blasted out of the temple like a cannon shell, smoke and debris swallowing everyone's sight. Seeing this, Cizi's face tightened with worry. Then a gentle pat landed on his head, silently telling him not to be afraid. The warmth steadied his racing heart. High above, Ananta compressed power between his palms. Within moments, his ultimate technique fully formed. Celestial Flame. With a violent sweep of his wings, the massive fireball streaked toward the temple. Guao calmly raised a single hand. "You dare look down on us with something at that level? The skies stopped belonging to your dragon race long ago." The instant the light collided with Ananta's ultimate attack, it tore through the flames at near light speed. At that terrifying velocity, there was no way for Ananta to dodge. The force ripped through the clouds overhead, splitting them layer by layer. From afar, a younger brother watched and cried out Ananta's name, voice breaking. Whitefoot lifted his communicator. "This is Whitefoot, reporting battlefield status. The position of the incarnation of wings is confirmed. After this battle, the White Lotus Divine Tree has been destroyed. Yes, we relied on the incarnation's power. It wasn't exactly honorable, but our trump card, the Black Dragon of Vengeance, Ananta, has fallen." Out in the wastelands of the mysterious realm, a real-life high-speed chase was unfolding, starring a small dragon running for its life. The reason? 5 wolves snapping at its heels. One of the wolves whined, "Boss, I've been starving for 3 days. Haven't even had crap to chew on. Let me have the warm little thing." The lead wolf bared his fangs and snarled at the fleeing dragon. "The hell you doing? Move it! First come, first served!" Before he finished, an axe tore through the air. It split straight into the alpha's skull. "Fall back!" A sharp command rang out. Through the rising dust, Ananta's imposing figure appeared for the first time in the little dragon's eyes. The remaining 2 wolves whispered, "Boss is dead, huh? Well, guess that means we get warm meals now. Sounds like he's from the next village over. But why does he look human? Freaking weird." "Whatever. Let's bail." Ananta snorted smugly. Easy work. In the little dragon's eyes, he now looked like a towering 2.5-meter legend. At high noon, man and dragon hid behind a rock to escape the sun. The little dragon wagged its tail like crazy, trying to curry favor. Ananta knew exactly what it was doing and ignored it on purpose. He turned his head. "Hey, why are you still following me?" The dragon didn't answer, just kept nodding and wagging. Ananta scoffed. "You're all bones. Probably taste awful anyway." The dragon promptly bit him. Ananta exploded. "You asking for it, huh?" The answer came as a blast of fire. Ananta blinked in shock. "Aren't you a lizard? Since when do lizards breathe fire? Wait, are you actually a dragon?" The little dragon turned its head away in obvious annoyance. "Back then you ignored me. Now you can't afford me." Suddenly, the ground began to shake. Ananta glanced back toward the rock shading them. A colossal shadow rose, blotting out the sky. "You the brat who lit my backside on fire?" Ananta had been running for a full 2.5 minutes. A few more meters ahead, and the rocky drop-off began. In that split second, instinct kicked in. Somehow, he pulled off a flashy mid-air flip like a trainee showing off on stage. The landing from the rocky ledge sent numbness shooting through his legs. What shocked him more was the sight of someone casually sitting out in the middle of the desert. The situation didn't allow him time to think. A rock-armored rhinoceros never let its prey escape. It was known for chasing until one of them died. Ananta clenched his teeth. "If you're that eager, fine. I'll play along. I'll show you the true power of a black dragon descendant." Before he could move, a figure suddenly appeared behind him. Ananta's heart skipped. When did he get there? The stranger slowly removed his hat. A younger Guao stood before him for the very first time. The rock-armored rhinoceros ruled the desert, but its sharp instincts caught the scent of danger. All it took was one look. The beast turned tail and bolted without hesitation. Ananta had no idea what just happened, but one thing was clear. This man was terrifyingly strong. Guao spoke gently. "Are you all right, little boy?" That chance encounter quietly set the gears of both their fates in motion. When Ananta returned to the villagers surrounded him. "You brat, disappearing that long without telling us?" When someone asked who the man beside Ananta was, he stumbled over his words, unsure how to explain. A familiar voice suddenly called out to him. His sister's sharp reprimand followed immediately. "You ran off to the mysterious lands again by yourself? What if something had happened? And what's with that lizard on your head?" Ananta quickly changed the subject, turning toward Guao. "Let's not get into that. Sir, this is my older sister, Ashita." A sudden cough cut him off. Dark, ink-like liquid pooled in her palm. Panic flashed across Ananta's face. "Sis, are you okay? Get back inside. You're still sick. Don't push yourself." He had no idea the tragedy already looming over them. Soon after, they gathered inside the tribal chief's tent. The chief offered generous food and formally thanked Guao in gratitude for saving a tribe member. He would be granted full hospitality and privileges within the tribe. Guao seemed pleased. This had been his destination all along. The little dragon's sharp instincts caught the same danger again. At a single glance, it shrank behind Ananta in fear. The chief declared that during Guao's stay, Ananta would serve as his guide. Ananta's reluctant expression earned him a heavy smack from the chief. The chief then asked Guao about his true purpose. Guao replied plainly that he was an explorer, specializing in geographic and incarnation research. With that, he pulled a warm parchment scroll from inside his coat. For years, Guao had wandered every corner of the continent, collecting legends and forgotten stories. And within this crimson desert, there existed a tale of an incarnation. The tribal chief asked, "May I know which incarnation you are searching for?" Guao replied calmly, "His name is Azdahaka. He was one of the first chosen by the gods to receive divine power. There are 6 such incarnations in total. Among them, he stands as the strongest dot in the mortal realm. He inspired both fear and worship. People called him the incarnation of the demon. The black dragon was the symbol of his race and identity." After a brief rest, Guao announced he would head out again to survey the terrain. Naturally, the young guide was coming along. Ashita called out to Ananta in a voice as gentle as flowing water. She smiled like she always did. "Be careful. I'll be waiting for you." Ananta grinned back. "Don't worry, sis. I'll bring you something delicious when I return." As he left, he glanced back, only to see the adults watching him with unusually grave expressions. He quickly understood what those looks meant. After about 2.5 hours of walking, the two stopped by a river to rest. Ananta asked about Guao's investigation. If he failed to find what he sought, would he change course? Guao answered that the only solid leads so far were the fragmented records of the Black Dragon descendant. Legend said that long ago, the suffering ancestors of a young boy's tribe had been attacked by invaders. It was the Black Dragon, bearer of a demonic god's power, who drove them back. The tribe's survival to this day was owed entirely to that feared, evil god. Yet the villagers refused to speak about the Black Dragon. When Guao noticed the wounds on Ananta's body, his expression hardened. "You've been sneaking out to hunt again, haven't you?" Ananta only asked him to keep it a secret. His parents had died when he was young, both taken by a strange illness. The burden of raising him fell entirely on his sister, who practically carried him from infancy with her own hands. Now she was sick, too, so he had no choice but to step up and protect her. Pushing aside the heavy topic, Ananta asked why Guao was so determined to find the incarnation. Guao replied, "Because each incarnation possesses a divine relic granted by the gods. Every relic represents a different source of divine power. The 6 incarnations command forces beyond mortal comprehension. If someone were to gather all the relics, that person would stand at the very top of this continent." The words slipped out of Ananta's mouth before he could stop them. "So the thing in the ancient ruins, that's one of them?" Guao's eyes sharpened instantly. "Clever boy, So you do know something. Speak. Realizing he couldn't hide it, Ananta told the truth. When I was 2.5, my sister told me this story. After driving away the invaders, the black dragon didn't stop. He burned the entire wasteland to ash. Then he entrusted one of his scales to our ancestors. After separating his power source, he fell into slumber. Later, our ancestors built a temple in Dragon Gorge. Elite warriors guarded it day and night to protect that black dragon scale. Ananta inhaled deeply. I know what you're thinking. That relic has been protected by our tribe for generations. You're welcome to stay in the village as long as you like. But that place, I will never take you there. After hearing Ananta out, Guao fell silent for a moment before speaking. In that case, I want you to come somewhere with me. They spent most of the day walking before reaching a stretch of crimson earth. Ruby was visibly exhausted by then. Ananta scooped it up and placed it on his shoulder. Why bring us here? Guao stared across the barren desert. As you can see, this wasteland is what the black dragon left behind after that war. For centuries, nothing has grown here. Do you really believe ordinary fire could prevent life from returning for 100 years? Ananta froze. I don't understand. Guao's voice sharpened. Have you never questioned it? What if this was the black dragon's curse? Ananta shook his head in disbelief. That's impossible. Guao continued calmly, almost coldly. The black dragon serves the evil god of life and death, of curses. His power comes from divine relics bestowed by that god. Why would an incarnation who serves a dark deity entrust such a relic to your tribe? He was using you to spread the curse. Your parents, your sister, who's been ill for years and now barely clings to life. The tragedy of your fate? All of it traces back to the black dragon. And the black dragon scale in Dragon Gorge. That is the key to lifting the curse. The scene shifted to Dragon Gorge. Guao stood before the temple gates. The guards immediately stiffened. He cast that same suffocating gaze. Sensing danger, the guards charged with weapons drawn. They were sent flying with a single kick. After taking down the second guard, Guao glanced back, signaling Ananta to come out. Ananta was still frozen from what he had just witnessed. He hadn't even seen the movements. The fight ended in the blink of an eye. Together, they stepped into the Black Dragon Temple within Dragon Gorge. The remaining guards barely reacted before Guao dropped them with eerie speed. Ananta still had no idea what he was about to face. Inside the dim chamber, their eyes were drawn to a stone coffin at the center. The flower in Ananta's hand began to glow brighter, as if responding to something. Mr. Guao, what is going on? Guao didn't answer. His body trembled faintly, then he burst into wild laughter. It's all right, Ananta. There's nothing to fear. He flung the coffin lid aside. Golden light flooded the chamber. The treasure inside left Ananta speechless. It was the divine relic the black dragon had entrusted to the ancestors. A single black reverse scale gleamed ominously, and it was also the black dragon's weakness. Faced with the relic his tribe had guarded for centuries, Ananta felt his composure collapse. His voice shook. Mr. Guao, if I do what you say, can my sister really be cured? Guao quietly watched Ananta trembling beside him. Slowly, he placed a hand on the boy's shoulder. How can humans be this foolish? The words pierced Ananta's heart like a blade. When Ananta looked up, he saw not only Guao's twisted smile, but another horrifying face layered beneath it. Guao seized him and dragged him to the stone coffin. No matter how loudly Ananta screamed, it sounded powerless. The moment the flower touched the scale, the black dragon scale erupted in blinding golden light. The fear in Ananta's eyes shifted instantly into pure despair. At that same moment, Ashita stirred from her sleep. She opened her eyes and realized Ananta was gone. Stepping out of the tent, she witnessed a scene that left her stunned. The ground began to quake violently. The tremor traveled into a distant cave. Azdahaka's eyes snapped open from slumber. He sensed it immediately. Something had happened to the divine relic. Furious, Azdahaka unfurled his massive wings. Who dares? Who dares lay a hand on my relic? Before the words even faded, the cavern wall shattered under Azdahaka's impact. The tremors jolted everyone awake, confusion spreading, until someone pointed upward and shouted, "Look!" A massive shadow tore across the sky, heading straight for Dragon Gorge. Azdahaka, awakened after centuries of slumber, burned with unrestrained fury. The Black Dragon Temple lay in ruins. Ruby cried out Ananta's name in despair, but no matter how desperately it called, there was no response. In the instant the light erupted, Ananta's arms disintegrated into ash. Only through Ruby's relentless cries did he regain a flicker of consciousness. Struggling, he lifted his head toward the pillar of light and saw Guao standing within it. Guao's eyes gleamed with hunger. At last, I found you. The moment his hand touched the relic, the sacred tree blossom flared even brighter. Yet there was no confusion in his gaze. A greater beam of light descended and swallowed him whole. When the light faded, he stood unharmed, proof that the divine relic had fully accepted him. Without hesitation, Guao drove the sacred tree blossom into his own abdomen. The blossom dissolved into his flesh. Inside him, a new network of veins formed. As the light and smoke dispersed, his transformation was complete. Just as he prepared to leave, Azdahaka crashed down before him, blocking his path. "Foolish mortal," Azdahaka growled. "Do you understand the consequence of touching my reverse scale?" Guao smiled, almost pleased. "Consequence? For me, this is the best possible outcome." The moment he finished speaking, violent winds spiraled around him. Wings tore through the storm, blazing against the night sky. Guao now stood revealed. 3 pairs of radiant wings unfurled behind him. "A pleasure to finally meet you, Azdahaka. My name is Guao. I am the winged incarnation blessed by the goddess, and the one who will bury you here." The tempest whipped up sand in every direction. Ananta raised his head and witnessed a sight beyond anything he had ever imagined. The tension between the 2 incarnations was razor-thin. War could ignite at any second, yet Azdahaka felt something off. Why did this human carry multiple divine relics within his body? No ordinary incarnation could endure such overwhelming power. Rage flared as Azdahaka demanded, "What did you do to the original owners of those relics?" Guao threw his head back and laughed madly. "Black Dragon, what a foolish question. If I didn't kill them, where would the relics come from?" 5 spheres of light condensed around him. With a single beat of his wings, they shot forward. Explosions rippled across Azdahaka's massive body. When the smoke cleared, Azdahaka stood exposed. Guao could tell at a glance, without his connection to the divine relic, the dragon's former might had long since faded. Guao sneered. "You're nothing but a relic of the age of gods. I'll sink you completely." The words ignited Azdahaka's fury. A colossal torrent of flame erupted from his jaws. Guao moved with blinding agility and slipped past it effortlessly. Azdahaka slammed into the ground and launched himself forward. His massive body shot straight toward Guao. "Boy, don't think a handful of relics makes you my equal." He began chanting an ancient incantation. Arcane circles flared around him as enormous fireballs formed in the sky. Like falling meteors, they rained down on Guao. Guao pivoted, gathering power. "Then witness the authority granted to me by the goddess. May the light of knowledge illuminate the earth." The fireballs struck him in rapid succession, but the instant they touched his aura, they were swallowed by a blazing surge of light. As the radiance faded, their eyes locked. Enemies to the core, yet both reached the same conclusion. This ends now. One decisive strike. Their wings beat at the same time. 2 overwhelming forces collided in the night sky. Azdahaka's power was visibly overwhelmed. The piercing light tore through flame and curse alike, crashing directly into the dragon's body. With no room to evade, Azdahaka took the full impact. The explosion lit up the entire night. Those watching were stunned by Guao's might, yet fear for Azdahaka crept into their faces. Ananta forced his broken body upright, whispering Ashita's name again and again. Rage and guilt churned inside him. But what could he possibly do now? He lifted his head toward the sky. A sudden thunderous blast shook the gorge, and the source of that explosion was Azdahaka's battered, broken body. Azdahaka's defeat was inevitable. Guao slowly dismissed his incarnation form. "Azdahaka, you made a fatal mistake. Your arrogance and your ignorance. Stripped of the evil god's power, what makes you think you can stand in my way? Besides, there's no room beneath this sky for 2 living kings." With that, Guao transformed into a streak of light and shot into the heavens. Watching him disappear, one thing was clear. Ananta was still just a boy. Like many boys, he would only grow after being betrayed. On the brink of death, Azdahaka spoke again. "It was you who brought the winged incarnation into the Black Dragon Temple, wasn't it?" Guilt flooded Ananta's face as he repeated, "I'm sorry," over and over. Azdahaka's voice weakened. "To think that I, an incarnation of the evil god, who slaughtered countless lives for centuries, would feel such a wretched emotion at the end. Do you believe a few apologies can earn my forgiveness? For the rest of your life, you will live beneath my fury and my curse. You will repay this with a lifetime of guilt." As his final words fell, black flames devoured his physical body. The fire twisted and condensed into the shape of a black dragon's head. Yet for Ananta, this tragedy was only the beginning. What awaited him next was despair far beyond imagination. The newly formed Azdahaka soared into the sky in an instant. A chilling premonition surged through Ananta's mind. The worst fear came true. The direction Azdahaka flew was straight toward the village. Within moments, he loomed above it. Furious dragon flames swept across every corner of the settlement. The villagers didn't even have time to run before the fire swallowed them whole. Among them was Ananta's sister. Agonized screams tore through the night sky. Ananta cried out her name as he ran back toward the village. But what awaited him was the black dragon's concentrated malice and its curse. The force engulfed him in an instant. It flooded into his body without end. His torn flesh began to regenerate violently. Black flames coiled around his heart. His body cycled through tearing and regrowth, pain exploding through every nerve. His arms twisted, transforming into massive dragon claws. Azdahaka released one final roar. Foolish mortal, from this day forward, your rage and vengeance will become the source of my power, and I will curse you forever. The scene snapped back to the present. Watching Ananta plummet from the sky, Guao couldn't help but murmur, almost amused. Who would have thought this journey would bring such an unexpected reward? It's time we return to the temple. After receiving the order, the Guardian walked straight toward Guao with a sharp, cracking sound. The Guardian tore space open once again and reopened the teleportation gate. Just as Guao was about to step through, Nadia suddenly shouted after him. They all call you an evil being who dares to claim godhood, but that child is, without question, the true incarnation. So tell me, before I ever met you, what was I? Was I the same as that child? Guao listened, then revealed a smile filled with unspoken meaning. All of this is nothing more than causality. When causality is severed, fate naturally dissolves with it. I look forward to the day we meet again. Oh please, don't feed me that philosophical nonsense. If it weren't for that damn branch inside my body draining every ounce of strength I have, I'd be up there slapping you across the face right now. Meanwhile, inside the bathing chamber of the warrior tribe's royal palace, judging from that silhouette alone, without knowing their gender, anyone would have been left completely thrown off. Suddenly, two attendants stepped inside. Your Majesty, Duke Bernhard has sent word from the southern outpost. The king immediately rose to his feet. It's been a long time since I've heard such good news. The two of you are fortunate. If you had brought me bad news again, I was fully prepared to give you a little punishment. The attendant reported, according to the letter, traveling with him are one incarnation and two humans. The king asked, is that incarnation a winged creature? The blonde standing nearby answered at once, the identity of that incarnation remains unclear. It would be best for your majesty to judge in person. The king showed a faint smile. Interesting. I didn't expect Duke Bernhard to bring me such a pleasant surprise. At that moment, outside the southern gate of Warrior City, as the massive gate slowly opened, Nadia and Duke Bernhard stepped inside together. From Bernhard's own introduction, it was clear that, like Ananta, he bore a deep and personal hatred toward the winged incarnation. This time, he had invited Nadia to accompany him to the organization's headquarters. On the surface, it was about claiming the tournament reward. In truth, their real objective was undoubtedly the power possessed by Ananta, and after that battle ended, Whitefoot had inexplicably vanished without a trace. As for Nadia, her purpose in coming to Warrior City was to meet someone. The doors of the conference hall slowly opened. The atmosphere inside was solemn and tense. No one spoke as they waited for the king's arrival. The king commanded countless battle generals. If someone charged straight into them, they would lose hundreds of millions of HP in an instant. As the gate guard shouted, His Majesty has arrived! 3 figures appeared before Nadia's eyes. Nadia knew enough about the warrior tribe to recognize the king at a glance. She was the first queen of the warrior tribe, hailed as the Valkyrie, and she held deep hatred toward incarnations with wings. That said, if someone were to marry a woman this stunning, wouldn't they need to make a few preparations first? Duke Bernhard was just about to kneel and salute when the queen cut him off. Don't start that ceremonial nonsense the moment you see me. I want to hear your findings, Bernhard replied. According to the plan, we ambushed the arena participants and took their identities to enter the tournament. We eventually reached the temple, but an unexpected complication arose. There, I encountered the true form of the winged incarnation. Upon hearing that, the 2 female warriors immediately revealed expressions of shock. The queen urged him, Don't stop halfway. Finish what you're saying, Bernhard said awkwardly. To be honest, it's humiliating. I didn't even touch the hem of his clothes before I was taken down in a single move. The queen teased, You're lucky you made it back alive after facing him. You took quite a beating, Bernhard answered. This kind of wound means nothing to a warrior of Warrior City. I won't give up because of this. One day, I'll crush him with my own hands. The queen nodded with satisfaction. That's more like it. You truly are my warrior, and worthy of your title, Honey Badger. Now then, who is the one standing beside you? Bernhard continued. Apologies for the delayed introduction. This is Nadia, the incarnation of nature. She shares our objective, and from now on, she will act as our ally, lending her strength to our cause. In the previous battle, if not for her healing, I would have already lost my life. The queen turned and asked the blonde about the whereabouts of the others. The blonde reported, There are 2 accompanying members, a barbarian, and a young girl. The girl's accommodations have been properly arranged. As for the barbarian, his injuries were severe. He has yet to regain consciousness and remains in a deep sleep. The queen nodded approvingly. Well handled? I will reward you accordingly. She then strode toward Nadia. Nadia, welcome to Warrior City. My name is Lagasa. You have my gratitude for aiding my warriors. Nadia gave a small nod. It was nothing more than a simple effort. Since we are now allies, you should explain your true purpose for coming to the warrior tribe. Nadia revealed the matter of the branch inside her body. The moment the word branch was spoken, Lagasa's expression sharpened with caution. Suddenly, a shout interrupted their exchange. Rupa's voice rang out. Your Majesty, there's no need to listen to this woman's story. From the moment she stepped through those doors, I couldn't stand it. She carries the stench of the winged incarnation. She pointed at Nadia. You admitted it yourself. A fragment of him exists within you. Upon hearing Rupa's accusation, Takan's face immediately turned grave. Lagasa asked firmly, Nadia, is what she says true? Nadia answered calmly. It is. Ever since I encountered the winged incarnation, the branch within me has never ceased resonating. And precisely because I do not understand this branch at all, I came here seeking your help. Lagasa turned to Duke Bernhard and asked whether he had told Nadia about the matter of the fragment. Bernhard immediately denied it. Lagasa lowered her voice. If this girl is truly the one Guao has been searching for, then this is an opportunity we cannot afford to miss. A guard's sudden report cut the discussion short. Lagasa snapped. A few drinks, and you're already staggering like this? This is a royal council chamber, not a tavern. The guard hurriedly replied, My deepest apologies, Your Majesty, but this is a dire emergency. In the slum nearest to us, an unidentified monster has appeared and is attacking everyone. Meanwhile, on the other side, Yu gathered his strength and unleashed a palm strike at Ananta. He had assumed it would be an easy victory, but when the smoke cleared, shock spread across his face. He hadn't expected Ananta to manifest dragon claws at the critical moment. The wounds carved into those claws by sword energy were visibly regenerating at an alarming speed. Seeing this, the captain of the guard immediately ordered his men to rush to the palace for reinforcements. Yu stared at Ananta's arm. That ability in your hands is rare, I'll give you that. But with your current level, you're nowhere near ready to face the winged incarnation. The moment Ananta heard the word wings, he exploded forward. Yu barely raised his sword before being blasted backward by a single palm strike. Yu thought grimly. The force in those claws is monstrous. If I'd taken that head on, it wouldn't just be my blade shattered. My body would have been torn open. Yet something puzzled him deeply. Ananta had clearly been in poor condition from the start, so how could he still unleash such overwhelming power? Suddenly, under the influence of the curse, Ananta staggered forward. Yu seized the heaven-sent opening. With a precise thrust, he pierced straight through Ananta's chest. Black flames surged violently from Ananta's body. Massive fangs even erupted from his lower jaw. He jerked his head upward, his eyes overflowing with endless killing intent. A chill ran down Yu's spine. He immediately pulled back, widening the distance between them. Ananta's roar echoed across the entire district. The cracking of bones reverberated from within his body as black flames tore through his flesh and completely engulfed him. His frame began expanding amid the unbearable agony. In that instant, the people were reminded of the terror of being dominated by giants. With a sky-shaking howl, a massive earth dragon, its body covered in spikes and stretching dozens of meters long, revealed itself. Damn it, he was holding back. Yu moved to draw his blade again, but in the blink of an eye, Ananta's colossal claw was already upon him. At the same time, Yu caught something out of the corner of his eye. His heart jolted. That aura? Could it be? Before Ananta's dragon claw could descend, Lagasa had already leapt into the air, sword in hand, appearing above him. Causing trouble on my territory? Tell me, do you prefer being deep-fried or steamed? Within moments, the guards surrounded Ananta completely. Nadia rushed in and shouted, Lagasa, stop! He's not our enemy! Lagasa refused to back down. This monster has already endangered my people. I don't care who he is. I will not let him walk away today. Suddenly, something shifted in Ananta's eyes. His massive dragon claw rose slowly. Then, with a violent motion, Lagasa froze. What the hell is he doing? Ananta drove his dragon claw deep into his own neck. His legs braced outward with force, and with brutal strength, he tore his own dragon head off. His enormous body collapsed to the ground with a thunderous crash. The crowd stood frozen, still unable to process what they had witnessed. Only Nadia understood why Ananta had done it. He refused to remain under the Black Dragon's curse any longer. As Lagasa looked at the man with a will forged of steel, a trace of respect stirred within her. 2.5 hours later, an emergency meeting convened in the Royal Council chamber. A subordinate reported, Ananta has been imprisoned in the dungeon. Nadia remains under royal guard supervision, on standby. Lagasa spoke. You all know why I called this meeting. It concerns the future between us and these two incarnations. Rupa said impatiently, how long do you think we can contain such a dangerous and unstable factor? We should eliminate him now. You teased. Rupa, your methods are as barbaric as ever. Personally, I find his ability fascinating. If he can become an ally, that would be ideal. Before Takan could speak, Rupa had already thrown a sharp, shut up, straight at Yo. Lagasa asked gravely. Duke Bernhard, before you brought him here, did you already know about his ability? Duke Bernhard stated, yes, I witnessed it with my own eyes. There is no doubt about the conflict between him and the winged incarnation. Rupa immediately exploded. Are you out of your mind, Duke Bernhard? You brought that monster here without a single warning? The Duke responded steadily. I am aware his presence would cause unrest within our borders. Despite opposition, I believe this was necessary. His strength far exceeds what we witnessed today. If we can help him control that power, he will become a weapon surpassing every one of us. Lagasa agreed with Bernhard's assessment, which only made Rupa more agitated. She turned to Yo. You fought him, didn't you? With your ability, shouldn't you have been able to eliminate him easily? You replied calmly. As the first to engage him, it may seem strange for me to say this, but he truly possesses the potential Duke Bernhard described. Had the Queen not intervened, neither side would have walked away unscathed, and the abilities he revealed were only a fraction of what he holds. Yo's words left Rupa stunned for a solid 2.5 seconds. Lagasa made her decision immediately and called out, Step forward, envoy of the rabbit tribe. At her summons, a familiar figure slowly entered the chamber. Long time no see, everyone. Did you miss me? The scene shifted to the dungeon of Warrior City. Fearing Ananta might lose control again, they had bound him tightly with iron chains. The cell door suddenly swung open, accompanied by the sharp echo of high heels. I was worried you might get shy when you saw me. Looks like that concern was unnecessary. Yes, that's the look. Every time you stare at me like that, I can't help but get excited. My heart starts pounding faster and faster and faster. Back in the council chamber, Whitefoot's sudden appearance shocked everyone. How exactly did you get in here? Meanwhile, Yo's attention drifted elsewhere. The girl was named Leclet, the demi-human girl who had previously cared for Ananta. Yo asked, You little troublemaker, I've been looking everywhere for you. And how did you end up coming in with Whitefoot? Leclet explained that Sister Whitefoot possessed a golden pocket watch. Once it emitted light, they were instantly transported here. Duke Bernhard's expression turned stern as he demanded to know Whitefoot's true intentions. Lagasa addressed the assembly. Whitefoot visited Warrior City not long ago. Her purpose was to form an alliance with us, promising power capable of rivaling the winged incarnation. At first, I thought she was insane, but now it seems events are unfolding exactly as she predicted. When she finished speaking, Lagasa fixed her gaze on Whitefoot. I find your proposal intriguing. State your conditions. Whitefoot clapped her hands cheerfully. What my family seeks is long-term cooperation with Warrior City. In return, you will gain intelligence on the winged incarnation, and we will also provide assistance from the incarnation of vengeance. Suddenly, a presence rose behind her, sending chills up her spine. She stiffened. This is bad. From the corridor behind Whitefoot came a deep voice. Whitefoot, you've got some nerve. Selling me like merchandise while I'm not around? Leclet turned at once. Ruby, who had been dispirited moments earlier, immediately lit up upon seeing the figure before her, crying out, Big brother! She sprinted toward him. Ananta spoke calmly, with unwavering confidence. An alliance won't be necessary. The winged incarnation will fall by my own hands. At those words, Rupa instantly manifested her claws. Wasn't he locked up? What she didn't know was that the guards assigned to watch Ananta had all fallen under Black Silk's dark influence. Rupa said impatiently, Your Majesty, give the order. I can't wait to tear him apart. Lagasa remained composed. Calm yourself, Rupa. I want to hear more about him before I decide. The reason she wished to understand Ananta further was simple. The number of scars covering his body far exceeded what his frame suggested. And among warriors, scars were metals. She could clearly sense the fierce vitality flowing through him. Among every incarnation she had encountered, none compared to him. Whitefoot awkwardly introduced him. Allow me to present our clan's secret weapon, the incarnation of vengeance, Ananta. The next second, Whitefoot was seized by a sudden grip. Since when did I become your property? Has it been so long since I stretched my limbs that you've forgotten your place? Whitefoot stammered. And no, of course not. How would I dare? Because his body had not fully recovered, Ananta's balance suddenly tipped forward. Black Silk caught him in her arms with a teasing tone. That arm of yours feels rather irresistible. Ananta knew full well that if he met her gaze, he would likely fall under the spell of her crimson eyes again. Seeing him avert his eyes, Black Silk chuckled. You don't look very pleased. Shall I entertain you instead? Being toyed with by the two women in succession sent Ananta's temper rising. His grip tightened sharply around Whitefoot's head, but Lagasa's voice cut through the scene. Can he truly defeat the winged incarnation? Whitefoot silently offered the queen a grateful look. Lagasa continued. We may not know your past, but we understand the heart of someone who seeks revenge. As you can see, everyone here shares the same objective, to destroy the winged incarnation at any cost. Hatred toward the winged incarnation is what binds us together. You, who fought you earlier, is no different. He once belonged to a clan that followed the winged incarnation. A single divine relic led to his entire clan being annihilated by those wings. From that day forward, he swore vengeance. So I can clearly see the endless killing intent toward the winged incarnation burning within you. Ananta asked, May I know your name? Lagasa answered, Lagasa Yingheria, King of Warrior City. Ananta released Whitefoot's head. Since you wish to know whether I can eliminate the winged incarnation, then I will tell you. The Black Dragon's curse grants the power of devouring. The more beasts I consume, the stronger I become. And if any fool among you dares to hold me back, I won't hesitate to devour their ability as a little snack. Rupa bristled immediately. Your Majesty, did you hear that? He's unbearably arrogant. Lagasa, however, looked thoroughly satisfied and gestured for Rupa to sit down. The sheer arrogance radiating from Ananta captivated Lagasa's heart. As expected of the man I have chosen, in the name of the Queen of Warrior City, I declare that from this day forward, Warrior City stands in formal alliance with you. Mel, Scald, carry out my order. Bring Nadia here at once. Yes, Your Majesty. We will depart immediately. Meanwhile, within a distant temple, one glance at those pristine bare feet was enough to reveal the identity. He was one of the most outstanding war generals under the winged incarnation. His name was Beharon. He possessed spatial teleportation abilities, and the destructive force in his fists was unparalleled. Besides him and Giz, there were 4 other incarnations of similar caliber. It was not difficult to imagine what kind of sparks would fly when they eventually clashed with the incarnations of Warrior City. Giz had once been an undead bone bird taken away by Balzac. After his rebirth, he awakened the power of Grand Thunder. As for Guao, the supreme final boss, he was preparing to carry out something outrageous. He intended to create life, and not ordinary life, but incarnations endowed with special abilities. As Beharon brought his fists together, a massive portal ruptured open behind him. The group began walking slowly toward it. From the other side came chaotic, feral roars. Guao addressed the undead beast before him. The forms you bear now were bestowed upon you by the gods. Only those who survive earn the right to shed these tainted bodies. To stand beside me above the sky, you have only one chance. Instantly, the undead beast's battle intent skyrocketed. The 4-armed giant ape unleashed a fully charged punch, obliterating the beast beside it into fragments. The other beasts also descended into brutal slaughter. Witnessing this, Guao revealed a satisfied smile. Roars and screams filled the entire valley, each beast striving to prove itself before the gods. The scene returned to Warrior City. Escorted by 2 guards, Nadia entered the royal council chamber. Lagasa greeted her warmly. Nadia's attention, however, was nowhere near Lagasa. The moment her eyes fell on Ananta, an unmistakably speechless expression surfaced on her face. In his left arm, Ananta was holding a small, doll-like girl, and what he was doing with his right hand nearly made Nadia lose composure on the spot. Sharp-eyed as ever, she immediately noticed something was off about him. Was it the curse preventing his body from fully recovering? Or was there another reason? Lagasa spoke calmly. Nadia, relax. I have withdrawn the guard's surveillance over you. I have already discussed the matter of alliance with Ananta. Nadia, Ananta. From this moment forward, you are officially recognized as members of our alliance. Ananta cut in immediately. Hold on. I never agreed to ally with you. Duke Bernhard responded at once. Even a temporary alliance will suffice, because only Ananta's strength could rival the winged incarnation. When Duke Bernhard turned the topic toward Nadia, his expression grew grave. What he was about to reveal would be cruel beyond measure. After a brief silence, Lagasa uttered a single name slowly. Mistelton. That is the name of the branch of the otherworld tree inside you. The Duke mentioned it in his report. You witnessed undead beasts transform into incarnations within the White Lotus Temple, correct? Nadia instantly recalled the gentle-faced child. Mistelton, as a gift of the winged incarnation, enters the bodies of undead beasts. Its energy is immense, enough to reshape grotesque beasts into human form, while simultaneously evolving their abilities. Nadia stared in shock. You mean to say? Duke Bernhard gave a solemn nod. The power Nadia possessed today was entirely influenced by the winged incarnation, and her original form was very likely that of an undead beast, she faltered. If the winged incarnation holds power comparable to the gods, why grant such power to undead beasts instead of bestowing it directly upon incarnations? Lagasa answered, because Miss Deltine's ability is not limited to one direction, it can also turn incarnations into undead beasts. She then recounted the day she witnessed her homeland fall. When the wings descended, every survivor was forced to flee, gravely wounded. Lagasa drifted away from her homeland aboard a ship, but what she saw next remained etched into her soul forever. A six-winged incarnation descended above the castle, scattering light like falling stardust. The earth began to quake violently. Suddenly, an enormous shadow burst outward from within the castle, tearing it apart from the inside. The roar of the undead beast shook the heavens, audible from miles away. That undead unicorn was the incarnation of the Valkyrie and the royal family's guardian. The scene shifted. The forces of the warrior kingdom gradually arrived at the land of Pasa. Because Ananta had just slain a monster, the Black Dragon's curse surged through him once more. Black Silk remained close at his side to prevent another rampage. Studying the pocket watch in her hand, Black Silk frowned. Strange. It's clearly morning, yet not a single ray of sunlight reaches this forest. Nadia cast Ruby a subtle glance. Ruby understood instantly. A massive blaze erupted, engulfing the undead beast in roaring flames. No one could explain how such a tiny lizard contained that much energy. The battle had only just begun. Yet Rupa was already restless. She turned toward Ananta. Why is that guy just sitting there the moment we arrive? It's seriously irritating. Yet you commented dryly. Your dissatisfaction is painfully obvious. Before departure, Lagasa had given strict orders. Establish a forward base within the southern forest of the old royal capital. In the past, the unicorn incarnation had stationed various beasts there to repel invasions. Now, the entire region belonged to the undead beasts. Whitefoot's ability could only teleport to areas free of monsters. She could not bypass the defensive line. Therefore, the vanguard had to clear every obstacle within the southern forest. The mission was extremely dangerous. As allied forces, Ananta and Nadia would fight alongside them. The queen had acknowledged them as allies. If they were comrades, they would eventually have to entrust their lives to one another. Rupa's gaze turned savage. How can someone with a murky background be called a comrade? To label him as such insults our predecessors. Only those who can entrust their lives to each other deserve that title. She did not waste another second. Standing before Ananta, she fired off immediately. You're already tired after killing just one monster? What? Out of gas already? And that rabbit? Without her beside you? Can't even move on your own? Ananta sighed. What do you want? Get to the point, Rupa replied coldly. The queen may be impressed by your strength. I am not. When you transform into an incarnation, you're clearly suppressing your power. That means you cannot fully control it, and that makes you a ticking hazard ready to explode at any moment. Ananta stood up and locked eyes with Rupa. I told you to get to the point. Say what you want. Rupa bristled instantly. Don't play dumb with me. It's simple. Get out of this squad. Refuse, and I'll tear you apart right now. She really thought Ananta was a pushover. The tension between them thickened to the point where the air itself felt combustible. Just before either of them moved, a slender hand extended outward. Pink light flowed like silk ribbons. In the blink of an eye, Rupa was relocated to a cavern filled with bleached bones. Her mind stalled. Where the hell am I? Black Silk immediately urged Ananta. Take a step back. Don't cause trouble. Don't forget why we're here. Ananta turned his head. You telling me how to act? His casual retort made her finger tilt slightly. Little brother, if you don't behave, big sister will have to discipline you. Ananta scoffed and looked away. Fine, you're the boss. Whatever you say. Suddenly, alarm bells rang in his mind. He swung his arm and shoved Black Silk away with force. Shock flashed across her face. Had this brat really grown bold enough to push her like that? But when she saw what loomed before them, it was already too late. A massive gaping maw lunged forward and swallowed both of them whole. The group froze in stunned silence. When did that giant snake even appear? After devouring the two, the serpent immediately fled at full speed. You barked an order. 10 of you with me. We pursue. They had barely taken a few steps when the ground began to tremble violently. The source of the rumbling was closing in fast. A herd of horse-shaped undead beasts charged forward, immune to pain. Their stampede kicked up clouds of dust, at least dozens of them. Nadia swung her short staff and uttered a chant that sounded like birdsong. Thick tree branches burst from the earth, skewering the leading beasts clean through. Yet wave after wave of creatures followed, sealing off the path entirely. Unless they cleared the herd, rescuing Ananta and Black Silk would be impossible. By then, the massive serpent had already dragged the two of them deep into the forest. It had clearly underestimated its prey. Did it really think a little stomach acid was enough to digest Ananta? Ananta slammed his palms together and transformed instantly. His dragon claws tore deep into the serpent's insides as he rose to his feet at full power. The giant snake's pupils contracted violently. A shrill scream split the air, and the colossal body collapsed. Gasping for breath, Ananta burst out from within the serpent's corpse. He even brought out a small souvenir. As for the digestive acid, at least it proved the snake had a respectable appetite. After a brief pause, Rupa slowly opened her eyes, completely unaware of what had happened. Seeing her awake, Ananta simply asked, "Feeling better?" Then he lowered his gaze, as if he had seen nothing. Rupa frowned. "Why am I here? What did you see? Spit it out." Suddenly, she realized something. Her ears shot upright, and her cheeks flushed red. Ananta tilted his head toward the dead serpent. "Looks like you don't remember almost becoming dessert." Only then did Rupa understand. He had saved her. The hostility in her eyes softened noticeably. Ananta stated calmly that he had exhausted his strength and would be unable to fight for a while. Rupa quickly asked what had happened while she was unconscious. At that very moment, Ananta sensed something again. He grabbed her hand abruptly. She stumbled toward him in surprise. The atmosphere between them grew strangely tense. She was about to speak when Ananta covered her mouth with his hand. The warmth of his palm froze her in place. Dozens of massive serpents had silently surrounded the area. What unsettled him most was that these serpents were not undead beasts. Each one seemed to be searching for them deliberately. Gently pulling his hand away, Rupa whispered, "Are you going to go out there and fight them?" Ananta shook his head. As she had said, he could not fully control the Black Dragon's curse, especially without Black Silk beside him. Using that power now might send him into another rampage. The situation left them with only two obvious options: transform and charge out to fight the serpents head-on, or avoid them entirely and retreat to regroup with their allies. Ananta handed the decision to Rupa. Rupa offered a third option: break through at the right moment, leave the forest immediately, and head straight for their designated destination. The number of giant serpents was still increasing. Even if their allies were present, victory was unlikely. It would only drag everyone into unnecessary danger. Ananta considered it. "That makes sense. So what's the plan?" Rupa frowned and muttered, "There is a way, but you'll have to hold me from behind." Ananta blinked. "Wow, that's direct," Rupa whispered urgently. "No time to explain. Get on." The serpents sensed movement. They closed in rapidly. Before the encirclement could tighten, a dark blur shot forward. With so many bodies, one serpent still blocked the path. It barely opened its jaws before the shadow tore through it, shredding it to pieces in a single pass. So that was the true form of this wild incarnation. A feral black hound streaking across the ground like a storm. The serpents roared and gave chase, but they were no match for Rupa's speed. Within moments, they reached the forest's edge, and then a mysterious figure appeared ahead. Ananta noticed it immediately. The insignia worn by subordinates of the winged incarnation. That meant the man before him had to be sent by Guao. Meanwhile, Rupa was surrounded by black serpents. A potent toxin had already entered her bloodstream. Without hesitation, Ananta bent down and sucked the poison blood out. Aishin sneered from the side. "Don't waste your effort. You can't save her. The venom of my black serpents is a blend of hundreds of different toxins. Unless you're an incarnation with regenerative abilities, there is no cure. In less than 2.5 hours, she'll be dead." Ananta let out a cold scoff. "Good thing I happen to know an incarnation who specializes in recovery. Now that I know the time limit, the rest is simple. Lie still, Rupa. Once I skin this snake, I'll take you home." Rupa trembled. "Don't go, Ananta. That serpentine incarnation is dangerous. Leave me and run." Before she could finish, suffocating killing intent erupted from Ananta's body. Aishin immediately sensed the anomaly. Ananta's incarnation was not an external transformation. It was a curse fused directly to his flesh. This had to be the individual Bahiron had mentioned in his report. Aishin released his own incarnation. "In that case, I have no reason to hold back. I am the incarnation of blind faith under Lord Wing, and today, I will be the one who cuts you down." Before the final word fell, the black serpent behind him lunged forward at blinding speed. A single bite would render the body completely paralyzed, but in the next instant, Ananta closed the gap, appearing right in his face. Aishin was caught off guard. Dragon claws slashed toward his throat. At the final second, the black serpent shot forward and intercepted the fatal strike. Even Aishin hadn't expected Ananta to move that fast. Before he could react, Ananta launched himself upward and shot straight toward him. The dragon claws pierced clean through Aishin the instant they made contact. Several black serpents burst out from the wound and coiled tightly around Ananta's arm. The overwhelming force caught even Ananta off guard. The serpents rapidly gathered, condensing into a hardened physical body. Its size and weight surpassed Ananta's black dragon form several times over. "Kid, your incarnation is impressive in every aspect, but in front of my Emperor Serpent incarnation, You're nothing but a weakling. Where's that confidence you had about skinning me alive? It wasn't that Ananta couldn't enter his third form to counterattack. The problem was that once he did, the curse would begin stripping away his self-control. And when that happened, the devouring force could easily spread to Rupa. In her current state, she wouldn't stand a chance at being devoured by the black dragon. She could barely even stand up. To protect the woman who had risked her life for him, Ananta chose the hardest path possible. He would endure every strike with his physical body and wait for a single opening to deliver a fatal blow. Watching his back, Rupa recalled what Lagasa had once said. Companions are meant to entrust their lives to one another. Even though Rupa had only just arrived in Warrior City, Lagasa had already been willing to lay down her life for her. Snapping back to reality, Rupa summoned her wild incarnation once more. This time was different. Crimson markings covered her entire form, power gained by burning her own life force for a brief but explosive surge. Just as Aishin's charged punch was about to be unleashed, Rupa moved. She moved so fast that Aishin didn't even register the pain. He had already lost all control of his arm. In that instant, Rupa became a streak of crimson light cutting through the night. No matter how Aishin tried to track her, he couldn't pinpoint her position. The moment he was about to lock onto her presence, the red streak struck again. Everything it touched shattered instantly. Her slashes appeared to have stopped, but they hadn't. The streaks of light ricocheted within the Emperor Serpent's body, colliding and rebounding. After Aishin let out a scream of agony, every tendon and muscle in his body was severed. It took only a single exchange for Ananta to be left completely speechless. Having burned through all her strength, Rupa turned to him weakly. "I'm sorry, Ananta. I might not make it back. You have to survive." The moment her words ended, Rupa collapsed. The crimson markings across her body began to fade. Seeing that, Ananta's fury shattered the last restraints of his reason. A terrifying crimson killing intent exploded outward, sweeping across the battlefield. No matter how arrogant the Emperor Serpent had been before, in front of the Black Dragon's third stage, it was nothing more than prey. The massive jaws crashed down. The Emperor Serpent was decapitated and torn asunder in a single bite. Once swallowed, it was immediately set upon by the monstrous entities within the Black Dragon's stomach. Each act of devouring meant another existence was absorbed into him. As the Black Dragon's claws pierced into the Emperor Serpent's core, the mistletoe inside it shattered violently. In his final breath, Aishin screamed the name of the Serpent Feather God. Moments later, upon the empty stretch of land, a figure suddenly materialized. It was the Serpent Feather God, manifested from the Emperor Serpent's severed tail. Within Aishin's body, they had existed as twin incarnations bound as one. Even if the Emperor Serpent was destroyed, as long as the other incarnation survived, the form could be reconstructed. Meanwhile, after absorbing the King-grade Mistelton, Ananta's body began to mutate. The Black Dragon's third stage form gradually receded. As his consciousness returned, he realized the serpentine tail was gone, and an unfamiliar sensation pulsed through his body. His second stage form now brimmed with power, as if it were on the verge of overflowing. Even his perception had been drastically enhanced. He quickly understood. This was the result of devouring the Mistelton. It felt as though an eternal flame had ignited within him, endlessly supplying immense energy. As that power surged, Ananta felt exhilarated. Yet it still wasn't enough. Through the resonance of the Mistelton, he sensed fluctuations in the sky. The incarnation above carried the same aura as the Emperor Serpent, and within it, he could sense the remaining half of the Mistelton. Ananta reacted instantly. The figure in the sky was Aishin. As his wings spread, the Black Dragon's voice echoed relentlessly in his mind. "Kill him. Kill him. Kill him. Take the endless power within him." Just as Ananta braced himself to give chase, he noticed Rupa lying motionless on the ground. Catching up to that sluggish flying serpent would have been easy, but every second of delay meant greater danger for Rupa's life. After a brief moment of forced clarity, Ananta chose to abandon the pursuit. Meanwhile, at the outer edge of the forest camp, Yu led his squad in clearing the remaining beasts. His longsword plunged straight through the last one, and silence returned to the camp. The thunder of hooves from those monsters faded entirely. Yet Yo couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. He just couldn't name it. After the battle, Nadia voiced a similar concern. The undead beasts had invaded the camp, but they hadn't inflicted significant damage on the camp or its people. Based on her observation, Yu arrived at a single conclusion. They hadn't been targeting humans. It was more like they were fleeing from some terrifying predator, stampeding out of the depths of the forest. Black Silk's sudden arrival cut off their discussion. She warned them that now wasn't the time to speculate. The priority was finding Ananta and Rupa immediately. Without Black Silk's restraint, Ananta could lose control at any moment. No sooner had she spoken than the guards heard a disturbance in the sky above. After being unconscious for 2.5 hours, Rupa slowly opened her eyes. If she hadn't heard voices nearby, she might have believed she was already dead. Nadia was genuinely surprised that Rupa had regained consciousness. With injuries like that, she had expected her to remain unconscious for days. The first thing Rupa asked after waking up was, "Where's Ananta?" When she tried to sit up, Nadia stopped her immediately. "Your wounds were just treated. If the venom had reached your heart, even my purification magic wouldn't have saved you." Thankfully, Ananta hadn't delayed while carrying her back. The moment she heard she had been carried by that stupid man, Rupa's face flushed red. "Did that idiot get hurt?" she demanded. A calm voice answered from the doorway. "You don't thank the one who saved your life, and instead you call him an idiot behind his back? I even gave up a feast just to make sure you didn't die out there." Ananta stepped inside. "Are you actually okay? I saw you take hundreds of hits from that guy. With your condition, you've got nerve worrying about me. Next time, think before you charge in. I don't plan on carrying a life debt to you forever." With that, he turned and walked away, leaving Nadia and Rupa speechless. The man truly didn't know how to say anything gentle, and yet, every time Rupa saw him now, an unfamiliar restlessness stirred in her chest. Yu reassured everyone that Rupa would recover. Her wild incarnation naturally possessed exceptional regenerative ability. After thanking Ananta once more, Yo asked what had happened in the forest. "His name was Ixxian," Ananta explained. "An incarnation capable of summoning black serpents from shadows. Was he sent by Guao?" "Based on his insignia and behavior, yes. His serpents were clearly targeting us. That means he already had intelligence on our movements. Will he come back to ambush us?" "Not anytime soon, judging by his injuries," Ananta said. "But I devoured his incarnation and obtained half of the Mistelton. I can feel it clearly. It's taken root inside me." Black Silk narrowed her eyes. "Your curse has stabilized. I didn't expect Mistelton's power to be usable that way. If you can seize the remaining half of the Mistelton, the result might be beyond anything we expect." Ananta frowned. "Hey, talk all you want, but stop crowding me." Yo explained that the one called Ixxian was the Serpent Warden incarnation, holding the 6th seat of the Sacred Throne. Every seat of the Holy Throne was personally chosen by Guao. Their duty was to guard the winged incarnation. Only 10 individuals were granted the right to wield Mistelton. Among the undead beasts, they stood at the very top of power. The top 5 seats possessed the greatest combat strength and served as mentors to the latter 5 guardians. That meant Ixxian's appearance implied something else. One of Guao's top 5 guardians might soon step forward. Among those 5 was a terrifying figure whose mere movements could trigger natural disasters. The scene shifted to the old castle above the royal capital. Ixxian now trembled like a startled bird, his body and mind both shaking. The one he feared wasn't Ananta, but the hulking man standing before him. The man's voice was cold. "Who did this to you? Before I lose my temper, you'd better explain clearly." Ixxian lowered his head. "It was the one mentioned in the dragon report. He seized half of one of my twin-headed serpents." The man's gaze darkened. "Answer me. What was your mission?" "You ordered me to seal off the path to the Passa territory and eliminate anyone who might stand in your way." "My lord, I have not forgotten your command for a single moment. It's just, that man's ability is truly abnormal." The man before him was the 2nd seat of the Sacred Throne, the Overlord incarnation. Beneath his cold exterior lay a name known far and wide. Gazi. Gazi waved impatiently. "Enough talk. Ixxian, lead the way. I'll crush him myself."